Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. If you have not subscribed yet, then you should, because I have so many good episodes that are paid only. Probably one's going to be coming up soon or even next, and you do not want to miss out on all my bonus content. Also, subscribe to my secret Facebook group where you could talk to other like-minded Dr. Psych Mom fans. We have like a deep question of the day, usually, and lots of other stuff that we talk about. You don't have to really engage if you're not a super virtual extrovert, but it's a nice place to see what other people are thinking that are, in private, so they can talk more readily than they would if their friends and family were able to follow them. Now, today I wanted to talk about something which is just like the funniest thing for anybody who's a man, but not funny for women, or really actually less funny for men now that I think about it than for women. And this is the many married men that are in the circumstance that they do not want to ask their wives for sex because their wives tell them you only want one thing. And some guys are just so scared of their wife even saying this that it's never even happened, but they think it might happen, so then they don't ask for sex. But I'm talking predominantly about the men that ask for sex enough that their wives tell them, you just want this, you don't really love me, you're just into me for sex. Now, let's be real. What kind of sex are most of these people having? These men that only want sex, right? Most of them have kids. Most of them are in midlife. Most of them, the honeymoon stage was so long ago, they can't even see it in the distance. The woman barely tolerates them. Sex is 10 minutes long. If this man only wanted sex, he would be the prize idiot of the world, right? Because he's a moron. He's barely getting any sex, but instead, men don't want to offend their wives, so they say, oh no, sweetheart, that's not all that I want. I want, make a life with you and a family, and then, this is just cherry on top. That is some prize bullshit. What they should say is, our sex life has been nothing to write home about for 10 years, and if I only wanted sex, I would be the world's biggest moron. Obviously, I have this house with you, this mortgage, these children. I don't barely take a piss without getting your permission. What in the name of God are you talking about? This is insulting and demeaning and incorrect. What I would like to have is a sex life in addition to the rest of the full life that we have built together, which sometimes actually even includes marital counseling that is primarily focused on her feelings about why he sucks. So that is what I would really like to clear up. So if you're a woman who's listening and you're like, no, you don't understand. My husband, he wants sex twice a week. He asks for blowjobs sometimes even. Does he not understand that I'm tired? It's like, do you remember when you were dating and you actually used to like to have sex with him? That's what he wanted to still be like. Now, if you say, well, maybe I also want him to be asking me on dates and telling me I'm beautiful. Girl, I hear you. I totally hear that. And maybe that is what you should say for him to work on, but only if you're also willing to look in at the fact that it's some bullshit and not real that he only wants sex. Look at what he does 99% of his life. It's not sex, So how could he only want sex? Sure, in a dream world, he would be having sex with you for an hour a day. Very few men are pushing that I know. And if they're pushing it, it's only in the talks that they have to themselves where they're pretending what they would say to their wives if they were being honest. Most men are not even asking for that. So this whole idea that the man only wants sex, there's no married men that I know that got married because they only wanted sex. This happens in religious, an Amish community, somewhere where you're not allowed to have sex until you get married. If you are in that situation, and your husband truly was a virgin until 18 years old when y'all got married, and that was the only way that he could have sex and remain in your community, and now he asks for sex constantly despite y'all being busy with other things, then congratulations, you have made me wrong. This podcast totally not about you. You can tell your husband you only got married to me for sex. Even still, honestly, most men will not consent to marry a woman that they do not find attractive and sweet and affectionate and kind and all of these other things. But you have a point. Since the majority of my readers are not in that situation, everyone else has no point. There is no point to saying that this is all that this guy wants. What you really mean to say, so I'll help you to be more direct and honest and forthright and true, is you only act enthusiastic about having sex with me, but you don't act as enthusiastic about other things. Oh, that is true. That could really be true. I mean, you would have to take out all the times he does act enthusiastic about other things, such as, when you come to him smiling instead of frowning and tell him something about the children or something about your own work, or all the times that he's happy. But you may have somewhat of a point that he is not as excited for date night as he is for sex. And then you could say something reasonable like, I wish that I understand why you're excited about sex. I also want you to turn on the excitement for date night. That's a reasonable ask. And maybe he would say, no. But the majority of men do not say such things in this day and age. They do not say no anymore. But if he says no, then you could say, well, that doesn't exactly put me in the mood for sex, or whatever. You could come up with your own snide comment. Nobody's ever lacking in that department. But the point here is, this is a more the larger issue of men and women are not very able within marriage to take one another's perspective, and a lot of what I do is try to show the other person's perspective. So and because they're not able to empathize, they're also not usually able to mind read. People are always like, oh, my partner, I don't want somebody who mind reads, but then they also don't want to speak directly. So really what happens is that they end up not communicating directly, thereby really truly expecting the person to mind read, and when they don't, the person gets punished. So and this is on both sides constantly. So it's just like when men think, oh, she knows I want to have sex right now. She does not know that. She doesn't know that at all. She's not thinking about sex. Like, she's reading her book on the Kindle, or she's looking at Instagram, or she's thinking about your kid, or she's buying some shit on Amazon. She is in no way thinking, boy, he would like to have sex right now. In fact, most women have such a low baseline level of monogamous desire, and their desire is only responsive, not spontaneous. They cannot even imagine being a person that would be sitting on the couch at 7 p.m. wanting to have sex later after the child goes to sleep. It's like beyond their imagination because they're so exhausted. They cannot even imagine being a person who is doing the lunches for the next day, sweeping up, etc., and thinking, I want to have sex later. This is like, it beggars the imagination. So this is why I tell men to be very, very honest and direct. I would like to have sex tonight. Now remember, the more times you ask for sex, the weirder it's going to be when she keeps saying no. So if your wife wants to have a happy marriage, right, and she loves you, if you ask for sex 7 nights out of the week, she doesn't want to say no 7 times. That's a very bad ratio, and I've explained this before. Just like if she asked you to help her paint the bathroom and decoupage it, if she asked you to do this task that you find ridiculous and inane, if she asked you 7 nights in a row, eventually you're going to start to feel like an asshole, or at the very least, like something really bad is going to come your way, and that she's been counting up these times, and that you better fucking do it, because otherwise it's going to be World War III. And that is an equivalent of how your wife will feel if she continually has to reject you. So when men are terrified of rejection, they're doing themselves and their marriages a real disservice. They're not asking for what they want. This is as ridiculous as thinking your boss knows that you want a raise. Yeah, like in some global way, your boss knows, yeah, sure, everybody wants more money. But he's not thinking that you're so dissatisfied that you are going to leave and that you're looking up other jobs and that it's all because you didn't, get $15,000 more this year. He doesn't know that because you didn't tell him. So people that struggle with directness in their marriage usually struggle with directness and asking for their needs to be met in other areas. Some people say, no, I'm so super direct with everybody else except for my spouse. Rare. Maybe you're that person. Probably not. You may be, though, like that way in one regard, like maybe at work you really are direct, but with your own parents, let's say, you're back to being indirect and passive aggressive. So you really have to focus on being more honest and direct in general, and this is both parties. So back to the task at hand, if you are somebody who's thought that your husband only wants you for sex, you got to do a real deep dive. Are you providing the kind of sexual experience that a man would commit himself to a lifetime, family, a house, constant conversation about shit he doesn't care about, that you don't care about either, so don't be self-righteous. Nobody cares about what most married couples talk about minute to minute. I talk about this in my small talk article. Are you providing that level of sex? If you are, then nobody is, I don't think, complaining. So you're happy, he's happy, everybody's thrilled. But if you are not, if you are like grudgingly having sex every so often, and then you're telling yourself that he only wants you for sex, no. Every man has heard of women that like sex before. Like, they know they exist somewhere. And if he was only wanting sex, he would drop this whole family and go find a prostitute or somebody else. So that can't be right. So what you mean to say, and what you want to say from now on, is you get very enthusiastic about sex with me. If you want to be really honest, you could say, God knows why, because it's not been very exciting for either of us in recent years. But I wish that you would say that, save that same kind of enthusiasm for things like date night and being romantic. That would really actually probably put me in the mood, and our sex life would be better. Remember, though, then you have to commit to doing that. I don't tell anybody to lie. If you really feel like him bringing his A game to a date would put you in the mood, and for many women it is romantic, and it would put them in the mood, or at least in the mood to try, as I always say, given responsive desire. So then be honest with this. Say, okay, it's ridiculous that you only want me for sex, but you don't seem that enthusiastic about anything that isn't. So, and just one other parenthetical here. As ridiculous as it may sound to women who aren't feeling this way, men continue to try to pretend to themselves that the woman is enjoying sex as much as they're enjoying it. So when the woman says, this is so selfish, sex is all about you, he doesn't feel that way. He's been trying his very best to think that you're enjoying it. So if you're really not, because men don't want to, by the way, just masturbate with starfish, so they want you to be enjoying it. So if you have been acting, like you think it's obvious that it's just for them, don't think that they know that it's obvious. They are trying to think, oh, she's just quiet. Oh, she's just tired. She really likes it. Oh, look, I think she had an orgasm, so she must be enjoying herself. Men don't go into sex thinking this is just for me. They really don't. Trust me on this one. I worked with men for a long time. None of them go into it thinking, I just want this to be for me. I don't give a shit if she likes it. All of them want to be desired. All of them want to provide pleasure. This is to a person. Everyone does this. So anyway, you want to be honest, and you want to say something that isn't shaming and it isn't demeaning, the way it is to say you only want me for sex, and also that's wrong. But you want to say, I wish that you could act as excited for date night as for sex. And you know what? I know that I'm not acting that into sex, and I am willing to work on that if you also work on the romantic side that I really value. And most men will say, okay. They'll say, all right, that's something that can be worked on, is that I can work on the romantic piece and that you can work on the sex piece, and that would be great because we have a game plan, right? So if you are the man listening to this, if you have been told this, oh, that's all you want, you only care about one thing, why don't you just assert yourself for once and literally change the frame? Be like, I don't want you to say that to me anymore. That makes light of everything that I've committed to this family and to you. I go out of my way every day to try to make you happy. For the majority of men, this is very true. And I bust my ass at work and at home. And I'm always willing to accept feedback, but I'm not going to be told that I have bad intentions when I don't, and when nothing that I've ever done has indicated that I only value you for sex. Maybe what you mean is I seem really enthusiastic about sex, and maybe I could work on being more enthusiastic about other things, and maybe you could too. There are a lot of women who will just listen and who will take in feedback and who will be like, oh, all right, fine. Well, then that's what I mean. Then, you're not enthusiastic. Okay. So you don't have to be told some shaming thing that isn't even true. And I'm not saying that women mean to shame you. They genuinely think this is genuine, that you just want sex because you're smiling when you ask for sex and you haven't smiled that day in their mind very much the rest of the time. So hopefully this cleared up some of what some of you may have been communicating or miscommunicating about sex. If you found it interesting, please do subscribe if I am adding value to your life and to your day, or if I'm providing interesting things to talk about with your spouse. So talk to everybody soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.